Hey everybody, this is Ronnie Landis, and I wanted to bring you guys a very special message, something that's near and dear to my heart, and this is the concept of reinventing yourself. You see, since I was a young child, I was always fascinated by some of the most, profound historical figures that we've been availed because, the free information that we live in, we're literally able to gain the wisdom of all the great teachers and sages and avatars and leaders and thought-provoking individuals all throughout history. And this is something that I was exposed to as a young child. The first hero that I ever had at 4 years old was Bruce Lee. And that introduction radically shifted my concept of what was possible at 4 years old. And I've taken that philosophy that I learned and really just taking it through all the courses of my life. And this message, I feel, is so crucial for people to understand that wherever you are in your life, you can change it. You can exceed whatever level of achievement, whatever results that you've gained up to this point. That's not even scratching the surface of what is possible for you in the next moment of your life, in the next progressionary phase of who you're becoming, in the unfolding of your destiny. There's no telling what's possible for us. So a lot of people feel stuck. And I mean, I can relate to that. There's so many times in my life where I've just felt pinned down to current circumstances. Like I couldn't move through whatever barriers were being presented in front of me. And I've learned some very valuable things along the way. You see, I've been a dream chaser all my life, and in the course of chasing my dreams, I've had to actually reconstruct the person that I saw in the mirror and who is in front of you right now. I am a completely different person than I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and that should be obvious. We're all changing, we're all metamorphosizing and transforming into a completely new edition of ourselves. My question to you is the new edition an upgrade or is it a downgrade? See, I like this idea of upgrading everything in our life. It's not about taking away. When I talk about diet and nutrition, I don't talk from a perspective of taking things away. I like to talk about it from upgrading your current behaviors and your lifestyle practices so you can experience a new result with passion, with grace, with joy and pleasure in your life in the process of becoming the new version of yourself. So we have to understand that we have to go through a reinvention phase. We have to look at our life very honestly and think to ourselves, okay, where have I been and where am I currently at? To take an honest assessment of where we are and think of all the things that have transpired in our life and have led us to this point. The decisions we've made, the choices, possibly some of the shortcuts that we've taken because we thought that it would produce a quicker goal. Because we live in an instant gratification type of culture, we don't really see the consequences of short-term thinking and acting until, it's too late. But what I want to tell you guys is that it's never too late. It's never too late to become everything that you can be. But the honest truth is, if you are going to become everything that you can be, it's going to take everything that you got to get there. So this message is not for people that are really comfortable making excuses for their life. This is for people that want to empower themselves, that want to change their psychology, that want to change their physiology through incorporating high-grade nutrition and lifestyle practices. If that's you, then this message is tailored for you. I want to propose an idea that when we talk about the biggest epidemics, health-related, we tend to think of heart disease. We think of various forms of cancer. We think of diabetes, and absolutely, this is a big part of my work, is that these are, physiologically speaking, the biggest epidemics in the world. But I want to propose a new idea. Ultimately, at the root of all those conditions, there's a bigger epidemic going, and that's called excusitis. And that's where we are in the perpetual habit of making excuses for why things aren't the way that they should be. And ultimately, that comes from not having the proper standards for our life and the way that we wish to express our being in our life, right? Really, what is so crucial here is to understand that when we make excuses for whatever it is in our life, for not taking action on something, for leaving it for another day, for example, what we're doing is we're setting up a signal to the universe, if you will, to tell the universe that this is where I'm comfortable at, and this is what I expect of myself, and this is also what I expect of the grace of the universe to present me with. Therefore, keep me where I'm at, because this is where I'm comfortable at. And I want to tell you guys, as long as you live within the very small framework of your current comfort zones, you will never experience what is possible on the other end of stepping outside of that comfort zone. So with that said, I want to encourage everyone out there to really take an honest assessment of where they're at and how can they start to shift, make small decisions that will start to create a ripple effect to expand their view of what's possible. Because you're always going to get what you expect. If you expect to wake up, I don't know, if you expect to sleep in, for example, opposed to getting up maybe an hour earlier so you can do your reading, you can do your meditation, you can work out, whatever it is that's going to take you to the next level. If you're expecting that you can just sleep in and just kind of avoid it, it's no big deal, I'll get to it later, then you're setting up the stage for life's coming attractions. And I'll tell you, based on my own experience, by shortcutting what I could do for a better tomorrow, I've never ever gotten the results that I wanted. It's always created frustration within me because I'm a very goal-oriented person. I have a big vision for my life. So in order to create that vision in real time, I have to match it with discipline and focused intent. And with the combination of those two things together, it's actually created a bigger vision for my life than I even thought was possible. I want to also propose this idea on the word sacrifice. A lot of times we think in our culture that sacrifice is connected to some kind of negative connotation. We have to give something up. I heard the best definition of sacrifice, which is basically sacrificing something of a lower nature for something of a higher nature. Sacrificing who you are today for who you will become tomorrow. And this made a dramatic effect on my spirit when I heard it languaged in that way, because I realized that the person I am today, the 28-year-old man you see on this camera today, is not the same person I will be in 2 years. In fact, it's not the same person I'll be in 5, 10, 15 years. That should seem obvious. But if we're doing the same exact behaviors and we carry the same habits every single day, well, chances are, not only will you not be the same person in 5 years from now, you'll be a downgraded version of who you are, because life operates in a dynamic form of evolution, in progression. So if you're not growing every single day, you're actually going to be breaking down every day. We see this in workout routines, for example. It's been shown that if you work out, you're lifting weights, and you build a habit of it, as soon as you step out of that routine, even for 2 to 3 days, your muscles actually retract. They start to break down. Well, the same thing happens with our psychology, our neuro-linguistic patterns, so to speak. If we start to do the same thing over and over, we're actually going to get, for lack of a better word, downgraded results as we progress through our life. Learn the power of a discipline. I grew up as a martial artist since I was 4 years old again, and the great gem of wisdom I gained from 22 years as a martial artist, or I guess 24 years now, right, is that I learned the value of discipline and focused intent on my goals, how to recreate myself. You see, I've been through all kinds of things in my life. I've lived a life of pain, I've lived a life of beauty, I've lived a life of discovery. And what I discovered from that is that no matter how bad things seemed in my life, it was up to me. If it's to be, it's up to me. Ultimately, inspiration, being in spirit, comes from within. We can't be expecting people on the outside or outside extremities or circumstances to influence us to make a change. Sure, absolutely. Inspiration comes from all different forms, but ultimately it has to sprout in the seed of our heart. And if it doesn't come from within, we're always going to be attaching our gratification, our hope and happiness on outside situations. And as soon as those situations dissipate and remove themselves from our view, we feel pain. So if you can create new standards for how you live your life and what you expect out of your life based on your actions, based on the virtue of your discipline and your mindset, you can literally subtract all the issues that most people in Western society deal with when it pertains to happiness and satisfaction and this concept around success. If you get it from inside first, it doesn't really matter what's going on the outside because you know who you are. And this is what it is to reinvent yourself. Reinvent your philosophy on life. Start to look at other people's perspectives. Start to study wide. Don't just study within your little comfort zone or your little niche that confirms your current belief systems to be right. Because again, like I said, as long as you're doing the same thing and you're thinking the same thoughts, you're eating the same food, you're going to have the same or downgraded results than you had yesterday. Remember that we can reframe the mental computer in which we look out into the world. Reinvent who you are. Change it now, because the 30-year-old version of myself is reliant on the choices, behaviors, food, attitude, and all the other factors, the people I hang out with, for its very survival. The 40-year-old version of me is reliant on the decisions the 30-year-old version of me makes. So keep that in mind. When you're going through your reinvention process, a practice that I think is very beneficial in your meditation is to actually have a conversation with your 40-year-old self. Have a conversation with your 50, your 60-year-old self for guidance. Because if you speak to your future self, if you live in the present moment from a future tense instead of from a past tense, instead of pulling the past into the present, which is what most people do, we literally create a gravitational pull to the future into the present moment. You literally become a new person. You become the person you are destined to be by virtue of having that conversation with your future self. It's been my experience that if you do this and you practice this with, serious intent, your 50 or 60-year-old self will provide you with very simple insights that you are on the right track and little guidance steps on what you can adjust in your life in order to get to where you ultimately vision to be. So that's my message to you guys. Learn the value of discipline and hard work in your life, because nothing that's worth gaining is not worth earning. Everything that you aspire to have and become in your life must be earned through the fortitude of your mind, your heart, your spirit, and the strength and vitality of your body. So I hope you guys got a lot out of this. Leave your questions and comments below, and we'll catch you guys next time.